engineering firm here downtown, and I'm going to be talking about some business data that I've been working with over the past year, and some geocoding. So we were going to do a lot of business data research, and we wanted to look at different types of businesses across New York City, and look at them in terms of level of employment, annual sale revenue, and business classification. So we looked at these three common business commercial data sets that were available, and we ended up purchasing the InfoUSA database. It had the best combination of detail and price for what we were looking for. And the InfoUSA data shows 312,000 businesses within New York City. We compared this with some other data sets from different sources, some private, some public, and there was quite a range of results when you want to ask a simple question, how many businesses are there? Well, it really depends on what do you mean by a business. Do you include people working from home? Do you include mobile workers that might not ever go to their home office? Do you include global headquarter accounts that have different branches? Is each branch, is each ATM kiosk a separate location or not? So there's a lot of variation in the numbers that you'll end up seeing. And there's also variation when you look at the number of employees in these data sets. Now, the InfoUSA data, just straight doing a sum of the employment data, will tell you that there's more than 9 million employees in New York, which seems way off, and it's 3 times higher than most of the other values that we're getting from federal and state agencies. So, looking at the InfoUSA a little bit closer, the employment data included global headquarters in New York, where they put all of their global employment or their national employment numbers at their headquarter address. So if you were to map them, there's no way that they're going to fit, 200,000 people in one office building in Manhattan. It's not feasible. So we were able to manipulate the data based on different attributes that it contained to filter the data down to a more reasonable number of 3.2 million. And we also looked at the data a lot by the different business sectors and combining the NAICS codes in various ways. And these are the 7 categories that we ended up with. We geocoded this data to the Lion Street file because there were known quality issues with the data. We weren't interested in getting specific building polygon matches. We just wanted an overview of the business environment across the city. So we geocoded to the Lion Center line and the other files I'm sure everyone has used for reference as well. So this is the result of our first batch geocode, and you can see there's an obvious problem. None of the businesses in Queens showed up, except for a very few. One of the quirks of the InfoUS data is that there were no hyphens in any of the building numbers in Queens. So that was an obvious problem that had to be fixed. So instead of reinserting the hyphens with the software programs that would have to be customized, we customized the Lion geodatabase file. So we added another set of columns that had the building addresses without the hyphens, and we created a brand new geocoding locator file. And we put this new locator file into a composite geocoding tool that, has anybody used this before when they're geocoding? I recommend it highly. I had read about it in ArcUser magazine a long time ago, and I finally had a chance to use it. It really eliminates a lot of cutting and pasting and different result sets into different files, and it's much easier for record management to keep all of your data in one file. And you can combine your own geocoding locator files with the ones that you can use through the Esri software, the ArcOnline option, and you can also control to a large extent which records will get matched to which locator. So let's say you have a lot of post office boxes that you want to map to a zip code centroid, you can set up a selection criteria so that your post office boxes will get mapped using a different geocoder than your full street addresses. And we did similar things with addresses inside and outside of New York City using different geocoding files. The other main recommendation I would make is to utilize the personal geodatabase file format. I know it's not the newest, latest, and greatest, but if you are doing a lot of data scrubbing and editing as you're working through your data set, it gives you a lot of flexibility. This file format is the same as the Microsoft Access database, and so you can switch in between working in ArcView and working in Microsoft Access, depending on which types of edits you want to make. A lot of edits, especially with joined tables, are much faster to do within Microsoft Access. So that was a really big time saver. Two other quick examples of techniques we use for geocoding these data points. Alias tables, you can customize your own. You don't have to only use the ones that come with the Lions geodatabase. So you can put in your common abbreviations and your spellings and place names that are specific to a data set that you might get from somebody else, and it will automatically match those to where you want them to be. We had a lot of data that came to us that was missing or had incorrect county and borough information, so we made some lookup tables such as a zip code lookup, which would let us link information together and repopulate our geocoding borough inputs with what we wanted it to say. The messiest data of all that we got in the course of the past year, this wasn't from InfoUSA, this was a private data source, but there was a lot of data gaps, missing zip codes, missing counties. Sometimes the street was, didn't tell you the street type, it just said the address is 110th. You didn't know if it's 110th Avenue or 110th Street, and you didn't know which borough you were in. So that was like the absolute worst case scenario. So to help us research those, we made some lookup tables off of the street and the Lions file. So one table at the bottom shows the unique street names that only appear once throughout New York City. So if you see that street appear, you can look up definitively which borough it's in, and you can populate that data as your geocoding input. The last table example on the corner of the screen, that shows you the longest street. So if First Avenue appears in 4 different boroughs, it tells you the longest street segment called First Avenue appears in Manhattan. And if you have to make a wild guess, your best guess is to choose Manhattan to fill that in. So if you need to place a point somewhere on the map, it's your best guess. So we were able to map all of the addresses in InfoUSA. About 10% of them had to be corrected along the way. There were a lot of errors as well in terms of the employment numbers that we discovered through fieldwork. And even after all of our filtering, we estimate about half of the home-based businesses are still in the database that weren't able to be filtered out. It just has to be discovered through fieldwork. And there with a very simple map showing just one street segment right here downtown, that's the kind of level of detail